All right, folks, I got a treat for you today. So, normally, all of my podcasts are pretty much within the United States. I have had someone on from the UK before, but today we're going to be talking about some stuff that happened in antiquity that concerns the United States. And to do that, I have on several guests. Probably the most important for this conversation is Arish, and she's coming to us live from the old city of Carthage. And she's going to give us a little bit of tour. And then we're going to talk about some interesting connections and how this all kind of connects up with the United States and really starts to look at diffusion way earlier on than perhaps what a lot of the established narrative has been for so long. So, Arish, first, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Hello,
So,
Dave. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be with you today.
thank you.
And guess guess what?
Uh,
I am actually in the National Museum of Carthage.
really? See,
Yeah.
we
Yes.
read we read about these things in history and antiquity, but we never really get to experience and so I'm excited for myself. I mean, the audience gets to come along, but I'm super excited. So this is something that I'm gonna remember for a while. Now, joining Arish, we have John Lefgren. He is a gentleman who has done plenty of work about some Phoenicians that may have came over here, which come from Carthage. And then Blaise and his lovely wife are here as well. And so we just look forward to doing this. And I know we're kind of up against some time here. So Arish, I'm going to turn it over to you to go ahead and start the presentation here.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. I am Eryj Ben Sassi. I'm from Carthage, from Tunisia in North Africa, and I have been president and founder of our association, the Association Didon of Carthage, since 2014, so 10 years from now. And the aim objective of our organization is to highlight our history and our culture and our archaeological sites, and we want young people to know more about history, and uh, all of people around the world to know more about the history of Carthage especially, and Tunisia. So this is how I'm very glad to be partner with the Heartland Research, which is chaired by Mr. John Lefgren, who I met twice this year in America, in January and in February.
Sorry
I
about
don't
that.
hear you.
No,
Yes.
that was my fault. So as a guy who grew up in the United States, we hear a little bit about Carthage, right? We don't get even the full picture. If you're lucky, as you're going through high school, you might encounter Hannibal and his march across the Alps. You might hear about some of the Punic Wars that go on, but really, we don't get the breadth of history of just what Carthage is. Before we go into the connections with America and maybe some things that happened, can you give us just a real quick synopsis, Arish, of what Carthage was in its kind of golden period?
So Carthage, it has a very big history. So we know that it was founded on 814 BC by Queen Dido, who came from Tyre. But a lot of historian and archaeological scientific and professionals said that Carthage was older than from 800 BC. But as you know, Carthage was destroyed in the second century BC by Romans. That's why proof and evidence was also destroyed. For example, from only the Rome still have a book, the Book of Mormon, which is a book of 28 books about agronomy. This is the only thing that was preserved by Roman, but all of the other was destroyed. And this is a very horrific things for us. But what we have now in Carthage is that from that moment and some city and evidence before. For example, here we have the city of Hannibal. What we call now actually the city of Hannibal. And this is the hill of Carthage. Now we are on the hill of Carthage, and the hill of Carthage called Byrsa. And Byrsa in Greek is the skin of oak, an oak, you know. Yes, this is why we called Byrsa. And so in 814 BC, Queen Dido fled Tyre because there's some problem, as you know, with his brother Pygmalion want to take the throne. So she came to Carthage because it was not Carthage at that time. It had another name. A lot of historians are still looking for what Carthage, what was the name of Carthage before it was called Carthage, because Carthage is Kart Hadasht, that means the new city. So maybe it's the new city because of we have another Phoenician city who was found in three cycles, so 300 years before the foundation of Carthage. Maybe this is why we call the new city, or maybe the new city because we talk about Tyre. So we have two things here, and so Carthage is a very rich, have a very rich history. It was an empire, not only a city. Actually, we have a city of Carthage, but the empire of Carthage was extended from the north of Libya and to the north of Morocco. So all the north of Africa. This is the empire of Carthage who ruled the sea, the Mediterranean Sea.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, during its peak time, it was kind of the naval power there in North Africa, correct? And even stretching down into the Mediterranean, right? Its navy was pretty renowned for their strength. Is that correct, Arish?
Can you repeat, please?
No, you're good. During Carthage's heyday, the Carthage had the most powerful navy. Is that correct?
That's true. Yes,
Okay.
that's true. And this is one of the problem who we have this problem with Roman. So Carthage and Roman have this like jealousy, like how we said,
Rivalry.
Concurrence between the Roman, yes, the Roman and Greeks also, who have a big fleet of ships, and we are near. Actually, I will show you after the Punic port, which we can see from here. So the Punic port is like a very important archaeological site because it was founded around 300 or 400 BC, and after the Roman invasion, they built it a second time after 146 BC.
Gotcha. Okay, so
Arish, can you see the Mediterranean Sea? Where is the
Yes,
Medi-
you can see it, but yes, I will show it to you because now it's a little bit windy and it's not clear time, but I will show you here. You
Show us
see the sea?
where did Philip Beale bring his ship, the Phoenicia?
So this, yes, it's not from this part. We cannot see where the ship stay in Carthage here from here. Yes.
No problem, Arish. Real quick, let's now that we got some background on who Carthage is, right? Major superpower of its day. It's got a tremendous navy. It's not really getting along with some of its neighbors, right? And Rome was pretty brutal in those days. And so now let's talk about maybe some of the connections between what you're finding that connects Carthage to America. I think this is really the fascinating part here. What is it? What are those connections, Arish?
More. Can you repeat? Hello.
Yeah, no, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Can you repeat?
Yep, you bet. Can you talk to us now a little bit now that we have a history of Carthage a little bit and who they were? Could you tell us the connections that we're finding now to America and Carthage?
Yes. I just wanted to add that the Carthaginian people is a mixture of the Phoenician who came from Lebanon from Tyre with the Didon princess or Queen Dido, and the people of this land. So they were Numidian, Getuls, and Libyc, who are the indigenous and the autochthon of this land. And this is how we have the Carthaginian. And so, as you know, they are big navigators. The Carthaginian were the big navigator and very famous. So we have, for example, two famous admirals. One of them went to Cornwall, and the second, who is Hannon, went to Cameroon and discovered Cameroon and also navigate through the Atlantic. So in 2019, we met Captain Philip Beale, who came to Carthage to start his expedition and his adventure from Carthage to America, crossing the Atlantic, to prove that the Phoenician and Carthaginian were the first to discover the American continent. So we believe on that because even we don't have proof and evidence of that, but historians always said that we know that Carthaginian and Phoenician went to America and discovered America. But as I told you earlier, that a lot of evidence was being destroyed. So in 2019, when Captain Philip Beale came to Tunisia, when I met him and all of our members met the crew. So we followed the expedition until she arrives to Florida. And we were very happy to know that the ship was actually in the hand of in good hands in the Heartland Research in Iowa to be the Phoenician Ship Museum. And this is how we have this partnership with the Heartland Research. So together we will try to highlight our history and to bring the old world to the new world. And when I met Betty LaFontaine, who is a culture responsible of the Heartland Research and the Phoenicia Ship Museum, I I found something very special with her, that we have a lot of similarities between me and her in some tradition, some culture, and from that moment, we think that we have our people and the Native American people have a lot of similarities. So we started a new project to make this comparative anthropological study between North African women, especially Tunisian and Carthaginian Berber women, and the American Native woman. We make this entrepreneurial. So
Perfect.
I think I hope that I am clear.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Dave.
What kind of similarities were you finding? I mean, it sounds like you between you and Mrs. LaFontaine, you guys were discovering, and I believe she's on here, and we'll talk to her in a minute as well. What kind of similarities were you finding between the two cultures that was so compelling?
First, there's a very powerful thing, which is the UU. I think that you saw some video. The UU. This is a sound we make when only women made it in all the shore of the Mediterranean, of the south of the Mediterranean. Mediterranean. So it's like a sound, like to make to say that we are happy. We do it in marriage, in new wedding, in something new, is something someone who came from a long voyage. So when we are happy, we do it. And also Native American people do it. So we cannot find this thing all over the world, only in North Africa and people. We have a special bread who you cannot find it anywhere, only in Tunisia. We call the ftira. I don't know the noun in America, but it's a special in the Nauvoo community. So we have a special type of singing, so of songs. It's very, it's like Berber, only Berber people sing that songs and this style, and only we found a similarity in Native American people. So also I found a book, I think it's 1940 something, 47 maybe, who was written by a specialist who found like some noun, like similarities between familial name in North Africa and the same in Native American people.
Wow.
So this is why we, yes, this is why we want to know more about our relation, because we believe also that Carthaginian discovered America. So as the Phoenician ship proved also that the Carthaginian could made it. So maybe there's some people who stayed there from that time. This is why they bring with them their culture and their tradition.
Right.
Let's get Betty in on let's let the two of them interact with each other. It's going to be very good.
Yeah. Betty, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can, Betty. So Arish was just telling us about some of the similarities that you guys find between cultures. Now you're from the Navajo Nation, is that correct, Mrs. LaFontaine?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what kind of similarities were you seeing? Were you seeing other similarities that convinced you that maybe there was a connection here, but from ancient Carthage to the indigenous populations in Native America?
So, for example, Dave, the similarities that we can find also is the tattoo. Not in Nauvoo community, but there's Native American people who make some special tattoo on the face, and we have this also in Berber people, and especially women who make some ancestral tattoo until now. So we have a lot to make a lot deep research about this.
Gotcha. Wow. So even certain tribal tattoos, if you will, seem to correspond from Carthage to America. That's incredible. Betty, how you doing?
Yeah. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Can you hear me?
You're really breaking up bad, Betty.
Okay, sorry. We're on
Oh.
a cell phone right now, so
There we go. Yeah.
we're just finishing up. So let me talk a little bit about the Navajo people and what the connection that Eryj and I made. The first thing that I remember in meeting the Phoenicia ship in Florida when it came in, I heard a very familiar sound, which we call the lulu. And I don't know if you're familiar with that sound that the natives make. And it goes like this. And that's the same sound that I heard that somebody made on the ship when it came into Florida. And that was really got my attention. Throughout the reception of the ship that day in 2019, I met Shaimi, who is a Lebanese. I believe they're closely related to Carthage. That sound that we made were very familiar and instantly connected with her. And same with Eryj, when I met her, made that sound. We made that connection. It was really cool. But there's other things we've discovered. Their way of weaving, the women that weave, the way the looms to weave. The Navajos are known for their weaving, and the way that they do their weaving, the way that they card their sheep wool, the way they butcher a sheep, and spin their wool, weave, sit down on the floor in front of a loom. There's no other culture that does that besides the Pueblo, the Hopi, and the Navajo.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah,
Those are some really strong connections. I mean, it's one thing
very strong. Yeah.
It's one thing to have one or two, right? You can be like, well, that's a coincidence, right? It's another thing to start
Right.
looking at things like certain ceremonial body art and tattooing. It's another thing to see basket weaving. It's another thing to see the way that meat is processed, certain linguistics. It starts to become somewhat overwhelming. Now, Eryj, at what point have we found any physical evidence, either a record of some sort in old Carthage saying, hey, we made this voyage to America, or do we have something on the American continent that says, hey, the Carthaginians were here? Do we have any sort of evidence physically that would point to contact that way?
Yes. You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. So when Captain Philippe started his expedition and organized his expedition, he was based on a coin who was founded in America, and this coin came from Carthage. So this coin also show that the Carthaginian went to America. So I think there's a lot of evidence in America, and there's a lot of specialists who are making these researches to prove that Carthaginian and the Carthaginian were in America. There's a book I will send you the image of this book who show that we found mother goddess of Carthaginian, and we found it in America. So it seems like if we made a lot of research in this area, we will find a lot of evidence there. So this is why we want to do this research, because we want more specialists. We want to bring with us more professional in this area to make a round table and discuss, because one hand we cannot clap with one hand, so we need a lot of people together, hand in hand, to everyone will give his opinion and through his background, as an archaeological and an anthropological people, social. Anyway, so it's this is how to bring a lot of people around the same table to discuss the similarity, not the similarities, but this connection between North African people, Carthaginian especially, and American Native American people. We can find a lot. For example, I'm not Moroccan or Argentinian, but there's also some difference between Tunisian, Algerian, and Moroccan. But we can find also in America some Moroccan traditional things, So this is why we want to make this study more large, This is very important, really important, because we believe, as Association Didon of Carthage or the Heartland Research, we believe that these two people are connected. And I have the pleasure to discuss with some historian and some specialists, and they were very enthusiastic about this study and this project. It's an important project. It's not easy, and it's not a quick project, but it will take a long time, because this project will also give us the opportunity to the Phoenicia Ship Museum to be more rich, and we will have exhibition, books, movies, documentaries around this study and about this connection, this very important connection. And also Betty will tell you that when she made this DNA test, she found that she have some percentage from Egypt, and like 1% of Native Americans. So how it came? So also we need to do more DNA tests of some people in Tunisia, North Africa, Berber people, and Native American people, and maybe make this comparison.
So you've already seen, if you kind of broke up there for just a second, you've already seen doing some DNA sampling, that there is some common DNA there between the Navajo people and some folks in Tunisia?
So we want to do this. We want to do this comparative. We want to do this, but I have only two people, Betty and my friend, whose name Jaco Alphon. He said to me that he have 1% from his DNA test of Native American.
Interesting.
Betty LaFontaine, you can ask her. She will confirm to you that she have a percentage from Egypt, so from the south shore of the Mediterranean.
Wow.
So there is something. And yes.
Betty, go ahead. Did you want to speak to this a little bit? Betty, I think you're muted.
Sorry?
Miss LaFontaine? While they get that figured out there on their end, let's keep this rolling. What's the reception to your work been thus far, Eryj, within the established, academic archaeological circles? What in those folks in Tunisia, how are they taking your research here? Are they happy about it? Are they
So
somewhat
we
skeptical?
just Dave, we just started. We still preparing the draft of this study. It's not even the draft. It will take a lot of time. But as I talked to some people, they seem very. Maybe I will give you more information in 1 or 2 years about this, but actually it started as an idea, and we want more. But we have some specialists with us, and we want to have specialists from America also who work on the Native American people. So.
So
This is what we will.
Yeah, so it's still early. We haven't published anything yet, nothing
Exact.
like that. We're just early still. Betty,
Not yet. No. It's still early. Yes.
okay, perfect. Betty, Miss LaFontaine, yeah, I can't hear you. Yeah. John, real quick, in your
Okay.
oh, go
Okay.
ahead.
I want to show you. I want to make for you a small tour of the place. Okay.
So, Arish, what are you looking at right there?
Reese, you're muted.
Can you see?
Yep, I can.
So this is the actual museum of Carthage. Here you have the Church of Saint Louis, and this is all of this is Tunis. It's the capital of Tunisia. You can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see it?
Yep, I do.
Here you have the city. Yes, and here you have the quartier of Hannibal Carter. Here, you see it?
I do.
Did Vicky go there yet?
Not yet.
This is old more than 2,000 years. And here is the Mediterranean, and there, if you can see a little bit of sea, is the Punic port.
Okay. Wow. Holy moly.
That's very
You have
beautiful.
the word.
Can't wait to
Thank
see it.
Yes, you have the word, Betty. Thank you.
It's working
You
now.
have the. Okay, perfect.
All right. Fantastic. Betty, Arish was telling me something that you could kind of attest to there.
Yeah. Are you in reference to?
If I'm not mistaken, I think she was talking about I can't remember now. Okay. We got off with everything.
The different cultural ties that they had together.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, one thing I wanted to emphasize is that in our stories of our ancestors, amongst, I'm not going to say all the Native Americans, but most that I've read and researched, that we believe we came from the east direction. We don't believe in the coming across the Bering Strait, the frozen land. We came from the east. That's a lot of the beliefs amongst most of the natives. And there are stories that talk about that, how we got here. On one among Mike's people, the Chippewa, is that they came in turtle-like shape vessels. And my people also believe that we came from the east. We celebrate the east. We don't pray to the sun. We pray in the direction of the rising sun. And we celebrate the east. We make our homes in the east. Some of our ceremonies are in the east direction.
and we celebrate that we came from the East in everyday life. And so this ship came from the East, and there's stories that our people came here from there. So it's really strong in a lot of the Native American culture. As far as the DNA, I've had my DNA done by one company, and I plan to do it again, but there is nothing that says that I'm from any kind of Asian or like Chinese or any kind of, is that Asian? I don't know. Yeah, that I don't have that blood in me.
Wow.
But at first, that's what the archaeologists and anthropologists and people that work with the DNA and that kind of stuff believe that our people came from that Asian descent, but we're not finding it now.
Interesting. Wow.
So, but like I said, we're gonna try to do a cultural exchange pretty soon. I have been talking to different Native Americans, and they're excited about it. I did find we don't call them tribe, we call them Indian Nation. I did find an Indian Nation in California where distinct tattoos were done around their eyes here and their foreheads and their face. And I compared it to the people there in Tunisia, Carthage, and even Lebanese. Very familiar tattoos. Very familiar. So I have a group that we may be taking there hopefully in the fall of next year to have that cultural exchange with the Tunisian people in that side of the world. We're excited. We know that in the history books that historians have said very what do you call it? I can't think of the word. Strong. I'll just use strong. Very strong believing and that we did come from the frozen land. But after meeting these people, after meeting Eryj and getting involved with the ship, my heart believes that story, what we've always known.
Wow. And it sounds like you have ancestral stories that kind of help corroborate this, right? Not coming from the West, from the land bridge, coming from the East, and those sorts of things. And too often I'll say, I think modern archaeology is too quick to just discount the stories of the people they're studying, quite frankly.
Correct.
I think that those things have to be accounted for if you're going to be doing work in that field. I feel like that's super important. John, I want to bring you in here for just a second. So what kind of things have you found that lead you to believe that, hey, contact between North America and Carthage really did happen?
Well, we've been working on the ship now for 3 years. It's been a major project, and it's given us the chance to become acquainted with people who are overseas. We have seen in the last few years, particularly in the last few months, an increased awareness of this ancient contact between America and the old world. The ship is 40 tons. It has crossed 2 oceans. Philip Bill was careful in the way he replicated the ship. It is a very faithful replication of a 2,600-year-old ship. It's the oldest ship replica that has crossed an ocean in the world. We own it, and it's on the west bank of the Mississippi in Montrose, Iowa.
And that's just
Coming
right across
together.
the river from Nauvoo, right?
Right in alignment with the Nauvoo Temple. Beautiful place. We are grateful for the people who have helped us. We've had many supporters and maybe 150 volunteers. We've put 6,000 hours in on the project. I think that we are probably 15% through this restoration. The most exciting thing is how the ship creates the potential for connection. We've had a wonderful reception with the Tunisian ambassador in Washington, D.C. We're working with Lebanese cultural groups here in America. Everyone has an awareness of their ancestors and the meaning of what the ship represents. I think that at the personal level of Eryj and Betty LaFontaine, we witness, we get insights that none of us could have beforehand expected. Very powerful stuff. Yeah, I'm happy that we are able to do this. I think that we've had probably close to 1,000 people who have maybe 1,500 people who have come to see the ship. We expect that it will become a major attraction, a destination. And in that space, we will celebrate the cultures of the old world and of the new world. The LaFontaines are very well connected to the Native American tribes. And hey, Mike, you've been a big force here. Tell us how you've managed to
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's a continuous management thing. We've got a lot of great volunteers from literally all over the country to help put this ship together, figure out the technology on how it was originally built, and of course, putting it together is nothing like the way that they originally built the ship, of course, because they simply brought the ship into a dry dock and cut it up with sawzall. So we are in the process of putting it back together in a totally different way, but it's interesting to see how they built it, how the timbers were cut, how the Morrison tendons were done, the dowels, and how the ship every part of that ship seems like it moves, but it's strong as one whole piece. So that's an interesting thing we've been finding out about that.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
John, I just thought of a friend that I met. I made a friend, Navajo lady that's on YouTube. She has a channel. Her name is Navajo Grandma, if you want to look her up. She tells a story about a trading post owners along the place called Chaco Canyon. I don't know if you ever heard of Chaco Canyon. It's an Anasazi ruin in the Southwest. She tells a story about the traders that were there, that were the trading posts in the early, 1940s, I believe. 1920s. And they hired out some Navajo men and other locals to help with moving like sand and rocks and dirt. And they were working outside, and they were during their lunch break. And out there, these men were some were holy men, which were medicine men, and some were just helpers. And they were discussing something, and they drew out this thing on the sand, like a city. And the trader lady said, "What are you doing? What is that?" He said, she couldn't believe what she was seeing. She saw this big ship on this water with palm trees and elephants and a wall. And she said, "Well, what is this?" "Well, that's how our people came. They came on this boat. They came on this ship, and this is where they came from." So she saw the palm trees, and she was like really surprised, like, "Oh my goodness." So she instantly thought of Jerusalem. So this stories have been brought down. This actually is a friend of mine's, her great grandfather, who drew this this thing on the floor on the ground in the sand. So I made connections with her, and I will probably be bringing her to the group at some time. So the stories are out there. They may not be written down, but the oral history continues and stays very strong within what we call the holy people, who are the medicine people in our tribes. And also the females, they carry on the stories through the matriarchs of the family.
Fontaine, if you are open to it, I would love to do a separate interview with just you. I think you got some fascinating stuff that my audience would love to hear if you're open to that. So after we wrap this up, I have Mike's number, and if I could call you guys and maybe set something up, that'd be terrific.
Hey, Dave, there's another gentleman, Blaise Colasante.
Right, I was getting to him next here.
Yep.
So Blaise, how do you fit in all this?
Well, I've known John Lefgren for about 30 years and got involved with the project actually before we acquired the Phoenicia ship, and I've been involved with it ever since. It's been a really interesting project from a sociological standpoint, historical standpoint. I don't think the significance of it historically can be understated. To consider the possibility that the Phoenicians came to America 2,000 years before Columbus. The ship came about because there was the lower section of a hull of a ship discovered in Marseille, France in 1993, when they were doing some excavation work near the waterfront in Marseille, France. And the archaeologists came in and they determined that this ship was Phoenician in origin, dated to around 600 or 700 BC, and it was constructed after a manner unlike anything else that existed in that time period. So Philip Beale became interested in this because he has a strong interest in maritime history and technology, and had a ship reconstructed. The Phoenicia that we now own was the reconstruction based on that technology that the archaeologists had ascertained from studying the Phoenician shipwreck. So he built this ship because Herodotus, a Greek historian, had an account in his history about the Phoenicians having been commissioned by Necho II, an Egyptian pharaoh, in 600 BC to circumnavigate Africa. So historians have traditionally thought that that was legend or hearsay and that there couldn't be any veracity to that account. Philip Beale set out to prove that the Phoenicians at least had the technical capability of performing that activity. And so he had the ship constructed after the manner that the Phoenician shipwreck in Marseille, France was built. And he sailed around Africa. And it took 2 years for that expedition. So having done that, coming up the west coast of Africa, he was blown by wind and ocean currents to within 400 miles of the American continent. And so he thought that perhaps the Phoenicians could have discovered America 2,000 years before Columbus. So he put another expedition together about 9 years later in 2019 and crossed the Atlantic with that same ship. And that's the ship that we now own and are reconstructing in Montrose, Iowa. There have been other evidences, asked about evidences in the New World that give evidence of the Phoenicians having been there. We mentioned some coins that have been found that have Phoenician inscriptions on them. There are also a number of stone carvings throughout the Mississippi Valley that have been discovered that give depictions of an ocean-going ship that looks very much like the Phoenician ship that we have are in the process of putting together. And there are other inscriptions in Paleo-Hebraic and Phoenician alphabet that give we're looking into determining whether they're authentic or whether they're hoaxes. And so far, the discoveries that we've been investigating give evidence that they're real artifacts. So if the Phoenicians were here, they left evidence of their being here. So we're pretty confident that the Phoenicians had the technical capability to cross the Atlantic, and there's at least a good evidence that they were here long before Columbus crossed the Atlantic.
Wow. So as you find this evidence, oh, by the way, but before I do that, Arish had messaged and asked if she could leave the video, and she is more than welcome to do that. Arish, if you can hear me, thank you so much for spending some time here with us, and I would love to talk to you again. You're a wealth of knowledge, super sharp. Couldn't be happier that you came on. So if you can hear me still, thank you for being on here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, and I really enjoyed talking with you and with our friends, and I hope also to make another interview with you another time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime you want. Once you've been on once, you got a standing invitation to come back on. You just have to either call me or email me, and we'll make time for you to jump on. So that's not a problem. Again, Arish, you're super smart.
Thank
you so much for your graciousness and coming on.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, thanks. All right, Blaise, back to you here for just a second. I have some questions for you in terms of, as you're gathering this information, are you sharing this information with archaeologists or universities? And if so, what's the general feel when you present this evidence?
Well, in regards to the stones, they're not huge stones. There's a collection of several hundred of them in possession of the White family in Ohio. John White collection. These have been collected during the 1960s throughout the Mississippi Valley. We have looked into the method by which these inscriptions were made. We had a meeting at Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, with the electron microscopy department to see whether we could do some imaging of the inscriptions that were made, to see if we could determine how they were made, what tooling was used, whether there was any tool residue in there that would give evidence of the type of tool that was used to make those inscriptions. And so we've done some investigation along those lines. I think by and large, the academic community has not yet been very interested in this because they've discounted it out of hand as not being authentic. So the first thing that we're trying to do is authenticate these artifacts as real artifacts and not just something that's been modern made. So if we can do that, I think it will stimulate a lot of interest within the academic community. We also have a fellow named Brian Nettles, who is a ancient linguistics expert, and he has been working on translating some of the inscriptions on these stones. And you would think that if they were a hoax, someone would have to have an intimate knowledge of the ancient alphabet, and they would have to have done a lot of research to have any meaning attributed to these inscriptions. If you were going to perpetrate a hoax and you had a knowledge of the ancient alphabet, you could just inscribe any characters on a stone and it would look authentic. But Brian Nettles has taken a great deal of effort and time into investigating the characters that are there, and they not only form words, but they are words that convey meaning, a narrative, if you will. So it would seem unlikely that someone perpetrating a hoax would go to that degree of study to convey that kind of information on several hundred artifact stones. So we're working on trying to, convey that there's some authenticity to these artifacts.
So when you say these stones tell a story, right? It's kind of how I'm putting kind of words in your mouth now. If I'm misunderstanding, please correct me. But it sounds like that these stones kind of tell a coherent story, right? The inscription on
Yes.
the stones. What is that story? What are they
Well,
saying?
Well, I'm going to let John talk about that. He has a more intimate knowledge of one of the stones in particular that Brian Nettles has worked on, and I'll turn it over to John to convey that.
Scurvy is an ancient word and disease. More than 1 million sailors during the time of European discovery died of scurvy. Scurvy is a awful disease that occurs when you do not have vitamin C. Your teeth fall out. Ultimately, your brain stops to work. It doesn't function. At the end, you die. It is the disease of a maritime culture. You either, when you go to sea for 3 months, if you don't have vitamin C, it's not going to be good. Many of the British ships in the 1700s would calculate before leaving that half their crew would die of scurvy. This is a big thing. Now, the sailors of England are called limeys, and the soldiers of Germany are called krauts. Sauerkraut has the vitamin C, and the limes that the sailors sucked on gave them the relief from scurvy. So scurvy is a word that appears in Hebrew. It is a condition that is really clear. And this stone seems to be an advertisement for a product that is probably rich in vitamin C, maybe some kind of lily pad or something dried out. But the inscription tells the story of how it starts in your mouth, goes into your body, and then destroys your mind. Take this, and you'll be protected from that. That is a clear story associated with the sea, with the oceans. That stone is written in a script which associates with the ancient Phoenicians. Now, you can't make that up.
That's fascinating. And the first thing I thought is, was that maybe the first time we saw a pharmaceutical ad was on a rock? Right.
Well,
I wonder if there
been
was
selling
that,
these
I
treatments
wonder if
forever.
there was a great big long list where he says at the end, you may also experience all these other symptoms. But anyway, that's just how my mind works. Sorry about that.
No,
But
it's an interesting stone. I felt it and looked at it. It fits very nicely in your hand. The
interesting.
inscription, yeah, it's Brian Nettles has done the translation. That came out only a few months ago. You can find it on his website. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's the frontier of this knowledge is moving very fast.
Right.
Very fast.
Let me ask you this. Have those stones underwent, I know there's something called forensic geology, where they can basically, get microscopic images of the glyphs themselves, which will tell them, approximately when that was done. Has any of that work been done on those stones yet?
We went to Lehigh University, and Blaise was involved with all of that. The stone is a blue limestone from the Mississippi River Valley.
Okay.
Something that is common enough. Blaise, tell us what you did with the stone inscription.
Well, we were interested to see what type of tooling might have made those inscriptions. Um, obviously, I think if someone were perpetrating a hoax, they would use maybe a diamond tip Dremel tool or something of that nature. If they were trying to really authenticate what was done, they would use something else. I've been involved as a primitive skills enthusiast for probably 25 years. I make stone tools, arrowheads, stone knives, things like that. And John was very excited about how these inscriptions were made. Limestone is a fairly soft stone. Flint is fairly hard by comparison, and anything that is harder than the material that you want to inscribe will be able to scratch or inscribe on that material. So John came over to my home one day and we made a tool called a burin, burin. It's a small piece of chisel-like tipped stone. And I made one, and John immediately wanted to know if I had any limestone around. Well, limestone is fairly common in our area, and I went out to the flower bed and brought a piece in, and we were able to scratch into that stone with this flint burin two of the characters that were inscribed on this scurvy stone. So, the tooling was available to manufacture those types of artifacts at any time anciently. The other thing that I think we have to consider is that the Phoenicians were one of the first people to use iron nails in their ships. And so they also had iron artifacts that could have been used to inscribe those characters. So, we're looking to see under microscopic examination the type of tooling. Different tools will leave different microscopic scratches in the stone that was being inscribed. And so we hope to find out whether there are, evidences of iron tool use or stone tool use. And the other thing that could have been used would be some type of hardened copper or bronze tooling, and those metal tools would possibly leave some type of metallic residue in the inscriptions. So, we're hoping to investigate this further. This is really just beginning to be explored. So we're hoping to see more evidence come forth, in response to our research regarding how those inscriptions were made.
Wow. Holy cow. And when did we start seeing about what year did we start really looking at this and thinking, okay, there could be kind of a Phoenician slash Carthaginian connection to the New World? What years did this really start?
Well, I think the first connection was probably 1750, with some Phoenician inscriptions that are still up in New England. I mean, we have encountered this in our European settlements over the last 20 generations. Nobody easily can translate it. They think it's just an inscription with who did it? I don't know, some farmer. But then they've been here, so there are books, and then there are literally thousands of artifacts that have inscriptions written on them, and many of the characters relate to the old world. What these they've been neglected for sure. And after a while, we're so limited in what we have in terms of resources. We have only so much money, very little money. And so there is always a great risk that we're going to lose our attention and not finish the project at hand. I mean, we have to finish this ship. The ship is going to bring in a lot more. It'll bring in a lot more. The ship is the clearest connection in the history of the European settlements that the ancient world was connected to America 2,000 years before Columbus. It is a powerful witness, and it only gets better the closer we get to the old world. Our contact with Carthage is now only maybe 6 months. It's only been, they've come over here twice. We're very excited about this potential.
Absolutely.
It's refreshing in so many ways, because they see things sometimes better than we could ever see them.
Right.
Of course, they're speaking languages that we don't speak, but we have this common link in the history of the two worlds. Very exciting.
Absolutely. And John, real quick, if you don't want to answer this right now, that's fine. I can edit this out. But would you maybe talk about why it is Mormons should be so curious about this?
Well, it's a very good question, and I don't know that I have a very good answer. There is certainly opinion and counter opinion about different things. The one thing that is really wonderful is that the truth will come out. The truth will come out of the ground. And I don't know that we need to come to this research, to this project with faith in the Book of Mormon. The people in the old world don't have it. Eryj does not have any knowledge of that, but she has a lot of knowledge of her people, and so it is with the Lebanese. And so the idea is to have a big tent, to have a place where Native Americans, where Lebanese, where Carthaginians, where the king of Morocco can send his representative. There is no one standing at the door requiring some kind of faith in the Book of Mormon. Book of Mormon is going to stand by itself.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing more we can do about that. I mean, it is very complex. It is very ancient in its origin, and it's there, but I don't know that it's required.
Right.
To come one, come all. We're all welcome. Let's make sure, first of all, that we are friends.
Yep.
And that we recognize and appreciate the contribution that each of us, each one can make. We are truth seekers. I mean, I think it's better to have this open door.
Absolutely.
Than to simply say, hey, look, this is the way it's going to be. It's wonderful that we are able to have conversations with people in the ancient world that are meaningful. The ambassador of Tunisia in Washington, D.C. was very generous in her public statements with regard to the connection of her ancient people to America. Wonderful. Let's, I think that the religious aspect is certainly important, but let our missionaries do that work.
I'm not saying for proselytizing purposes, right? My thought is that as members, we do have an interest in this, right? In terms of we should see some sort of evidence. And
well, I would say, let me say it this way though. There is often more indifference in what we are doing from people who are here in America.
Right.
We share a common faith. When I compare it to people like Eryj.
Right. Well,
she's coming completely from a different background. and she is seeing things that none of us would have been able to see before.
No,
We don't get enough support from the Americans, that's for sure.
sure, sure. Well, and here's the thing, just like you were saying, that's her culture, right? If there's things over here that we don't understand, she has those eyes that can see those things way better than we can, because that's not our culture.
I was at the same table eating dinner with her and other friends when Betty Red Ant made the Navajo fry bread. When Eryj saw that, she thought she was going back to a bakery, a place that she knew very well, or to the Berber women of her country. She says, "Where did you get the recipe? This is our bread."
Wow.
Now, I would never have been able to make that connection.
Sure, sure.
She can.
What are some of the biggest obstacles that's standing in your guys' way now as you try to push this? Because it's a Herculean task, right?
Oh, it is, and so we have, of course, we have opinion, and that's good, and those opinions can differ. The volunteers are incredibly generous with their time. We've had maybe 100 or more people who have helped us in ways that are just remarkable. It always surprises us where the talent comes from. I think that if you have talent, that's more important than money. Talent is, and the talent is not going to come from just one person.
Right.
So you need a core, maybe as many as I would say we have maybe 50 or 100, and all of them bring a great deal of skill. The average professional experience from these volunteers, maybe 20 years. So you do 20 times 100, that's 2,000 years of professional experience in many different areas.
Sure.
A lot of this is practical stuff. Some of it is scientific. It's not academic so much. All of our volunteers are experienced and well trained, and some have academic training, others have other types of training.
Sure. You as I was saying there,
so the talent is necessary.
Right.
Before anything else, you need talent. We have the talent. After that, we need some money.
Gotcha. We'll cover that here in just a second, because I want to make sure we get that information out, because I think it's important. People forget that the science or discipline of archaeology is just over 100 years old, right? It's not very much. But what has happened is that in that 100 years, you've had folks in that community come out and say after 50 years, well, we got history figured out. There's no point in looking anymore. We've got the narrative. It's here. What you're trying to do is say, no, that the science isn't settled on this, right? That there's more out there for us to discover. And that is a huge lift. That's a huge ask, because these narratives don't go away normally quietly in the night. They go out kicking and screaming once there's enough evidence to kind of change the narrative at hand. And that's what I find so refreshing about what you folks are doing here, is that you're not saying yes or no. You're just saying there's some common connections here, and there's some evidence that we think deserves some explanation, right? Deserves to be looked at. And that's tough to get done, right? I mean, but we're seeing it. We're starting to see it happen, right? We're seeing things like the Clovis first model begin to be challenged a little bit. And that's huge. That at least allows the room for discussion, but it's still a big ask. So you said that you're in need of funds more than anything else. Where can people go if they needed to do that, if they wanted to donate?
Well, we have a Phoenicia.rocks. It's a website. There's a donate button, and that's probably the most direct place to donate. We will, of course, take donations in whatever form we can manage to get them. We've had some stocks donated to us. We've had some rather large amounts. We've gone through it all, but what we've done so far is remarkable with the little money that we've had. We want to build a museum. I am so very sure that as we go forward, there'll be more light and knowledge, and that it will become more exciting for all of us. And it will be more meaningful for all of us. What we've discovered in the last 2 years, in the last 8 years we've been working on this. I'd like Mike LaFontaine has been working with all of our volunteers. Mike, have something. What do you say?
So, if people want to get involved, come by and see the ship. We're right there in Montrose, of course. And like John said, in the last 2 years, we've had about 6,000 hours of volunteer service from all walks of life, members, non-members, whatever. They just really are interested in coming by and seeing the ship and touching the ship and learning the story. This thing's gone around Africa, has come over to America. The technology is a 6th century BC technology. You're asking John earlier about what people think in the church and what may intrigue them. In the LDS community, most people understand and know the significance of 600 BC because that's when this great city of Jerusalem was destroyed. And that was the time that Lehi fled Jerusalem along with Mulek and his group also fled about that same time. And here you have Captain Philip Bill, explorer, and building a replica 600 BC Phoenician ship out of the blue, out of all the years it could be built and all the different shipwrecks that he could have found and modeled a ship after. It was a 600 BC Phoenician ship and sell it to America. So that's an intriguing point of interest, but more so people just love coming by, seeing it, touching it, working on it. It takes us around 40 man hours to build, to prep each piece. The pieces there's about 120 pieces of the ship, and each piece takes about 40 hours of prep. And then we install it. So a lot of prep goes into it and installing it, and people get to see how it was put together versus how we're putting it back together. But it's a very interesting project for all people, young and old, male, female, religious, non-religious. Is just a part of history that's been missing out of our school system, because we all know that we've been taught in school that Columbus discovered America.
Blaise, why don't you tell a little bit about the cedar of Lebanon and the logs that we have?
The Phoenician ship replica that Philip Beale built was made of timbers that were available to him. So we have some oak planks, we have Aleppo pine, different materials that were used that he had access to. The Phoenician ship in 600 BC would have been constructed of cedar of Lebanon. And we read about cedar of Lebanon in the Bible. It was used to build King Solomon's temple, the first temple in Jerusalem, and also Solomon's palace. So it's referenced a number of times in the Bible and historically. It's a very durable wood. The trees can be very large and provide a lot of timber. In the reconstruction of the Phoenicia ship replica, we have the timbers for the hull, we have the timbers for the keel. So we have the majority of the ship. However, there were two decks. There was a lower deck where the crew would be able to sleep and have their meals, and there's an upper deck that would have been exposed to the elements. In the construction of the ship, those decks were comprised of pine, which is not very durable. And after 20 odd years and 30,000 nautical miles exposed to the elements, the hull was salvageable, but the decks were not. They deteriorated beyond the point of preservation. So we were faced with the necessity of procuring some type of material to construct the decks of this reconstruction. As it turns out, in Iowa, we had access to a stand of cedar. The American cedar trees are not true cedar, they're junipers. So we had access to a stand of trees that could have been used to mill lumber for the decks. One of the ways that we see the hand of God in this project is going to be evidenced here. We have one of the project volunteers is named Mike Stallman. He's from Independence, Missouri. And Mike always has his nose in his phone when he's got some downtime. He's always researching something. And knowing that we were going to use American cedar for the deck of this ship, he was researching cedar online and came across a newspaper article from a year or two before about a cedar of Lebanon tree, a true cedar of Lebanon tree that had grown in an arboretum outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So Mike calls the arboretum to find out what happened to the tree. The article had described that the tree had been 180 years old at the arboretum, and it had died. It had succumbed to some disease and had died. And so the tree had been taken down. And because it was such a showpiece at the Arboretum, it warranted a newspaper article to inform people that this tree had succumbed. So Mike Stallman calls the Arboretum and asks what had happened to the tree. And they said, well, we had to dismantle it and remove it from the Arboretum across the road to a vacant area that was owned by the Arboretum, but was not actually used for display. And so he asked, about the timbers that were there. And he said that he might have someone who would be interested in it. So he put John Lefgren in contact with the person that runs the Arboretum. And John called me. We only live about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half from the Arboretum. So we went down to the Arboretum in January a year ago and met with the manager of the Arboretum named Mark Karkowski, and told him that we were interested in that wood. What were their plans for it? He said, well, it's been sitting there for a year since we took the tree down. No one's been interested in it. We thought some woodworkers, might have an interest in this rare wood. It's a protected species in the Middle East. It is unavailable in any quantity anywhere. So we had the opportunity in discussing with Mike Karkowski, what project we were involved with. He was very enthused about the reconstruction of this Phoenician ship and the possibility of having this timber used in the reconstruction of the ship. So we went over and looked at the timbers, the logs, and I was measuring, diameters and lengths to see if we had enough potential there to create these decks, and determined that there was. John Lefgren then made a deal, offered a deal. He said, I'm the president of Heartland Research Group, and I am authorized to offer you $5,000 for these logs. Mike Kurkowski had told us that it had cost the Arboretum $12,000 to remove the tree because it had to be dismantled, loaded onto a truck, carted across the road, and unloaded with a crane. Some of these logs, these are just the branches of the tree, were 20 or more inches in diameter and 12 or more feet long. So there was probably 2 tractor trailer loads of timber there. Mike Kurkowski was silent for a moment and he said, "John, that's too much." And John just replied, "Well, what do you think is a fair offer?" And Mike Kurkowski said, "How about 3?" So we purchased 2 tractor trailer loads, probably 50,000 pounds of cedar of Lebanon logs for $3,000. We transported them, we loaded them on tractor trailers and transported them out to Donaldson, Iowa, which is a community just maybe 20 miles north of Montrose, Iowa. And they're at a lumber mill there, awaiting to be sawed into planks that we can use for the construction of the deck of the Phoenician ship.
Wow.
This will be not only the world's oldest ship replica that has crossed an ocean, it will be the world's true cedar of Lebanon Phoenician ship replica. Come and help us put this together. It will catch the attention of millions of people. We have already made good contact with the museum in Marseille. We hope to set up a sister relationship with them. They are the people that own and display the original shipwreck. We have good relations with friends in Carthage, and we're working with the Lebanese. A Lebanese group will be working on the ship this June. This is a important part of their heritage. It is big, and we make room for everyone who comes with with goodwill and a willingness to work and to discover.
Okay. I want to ask a question that I want each of you to maybe take a crack at answering. And even if you end up just agreeing with someone else, you can just say that as well. But what, and we'll start with you here on this, John. What are you hoping is the outcome of all of this work and all of this research and the replica of the ship and that sort of things? What are your hopes for this work?
Here's my hope. So we have a reception with 120 people at the ambassador's residence in Washington, D.C. This was a big and important social event. It was a diplomatic reception. People from many different places, many different backgrounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of that reception, there was a reception, there was a dinner, it was very nice. At the end of that reception, for about 10 minutes, we were all happy. The pictures were taken, everything was going on. I would love to have that kind of spirit around the ship. We have the ancient world joining together with the new world. We have many different languages, we have many different traditions, different ideas. It all comes together. We agree that this is an important part of history. The Carthaginians, the greatness of their empire, the Phoenicians, the Lebanese, the native people of America, the Europeans who came to America, those with faith, those with little faith, it's all there. But it is wonderful that we can come into this space and enjoy the connection that we feel. That's what I would like. I would like to move in that direction. There's no orthodoxy here. There is no catechism. It is a pure discovery of truth and light. And we welcome many people with many backgrounds.
Absolutely. Blaise, we'll move to you. How would you answer that question?
Well, I think to be involved with a project of historical significance is a great privilege. To be involved with this project, to give my time and talent, limited as it may be, to the reconstruction of a ship that has sailed 30,000 nautical miles, crossed 2 oceans. You know, the narrative that is generally accepted is that no one had the technology to cross the Atlantic in 600 BC. And here we have a ship that is constructed in a manner that it is proven that it is at least possible for the Phoenicians to have come to America 2,000 years before Columbus. That is historically significant. We hope to finish this ship, to put it in a museum, to preserve it because of its historical significance, not only to us, but to the people of the old world, particularly the Phoenicians and their descendants. It'll be historically significant to them from a cultural standpoint. So it's a great honor to be involved with that. We have met some wonderful people, you know, in regards to being involved with this project that has enriched our lives. Obviously, as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I have an interest because of the migration of Mulek, who is described in the Book of Mormon as having come from Jerusalem in 600 BC to the American continents. So to be involved with that kind of a project, you know, from a religious aspect and from a historical aspect is a great privilege. And we hope to get this into a museum where it can be preserved for many people and generations to come to appreciate that.
Blaise, real quick, just one quick follow-up on that, and then we'll move to Michael here. You mentioned the story of Mulek. Do you see any parallels or similarities there? Anything that would suggest that maybe some of this Phoenician ship could have anything to do with that?
Well, that would be a question for Eryj, because in their history, they are aware of a man named Mulek. And so that would be an interesting topic of conversation for you to follow up with her in another interview.
I might have to. I might have to do that. We didn't have a chance to do that. We were up against time with Eryj, and I was really bummed. But yeah, I definitely want to have her back on. So way to tease that. You're a natural, by the way, at that. Good job.
Thank you.
Michael, how would you answer that question? And if Betty's there with you, she's welcome to answer it as well if she'd like.
It's a little bit complicated from what I see. Just like the Romans destroyed the Phoenicians and erased them from history, pretty much, and basically rewrote the history. As natives, Betty and I, we see the same thing happen to us. You know, our cultural civilization has been somewhat destroyed and rewrote. History's been rewrote. They tell us who discovered America. They tell us where we came from, how we got here. So I would like to see this. I would like to see the real history of America, the discoveries of America, the Native Americans, the different peoples who have come here. And I would just like to see the truth to come out so that people can know who, what, and where it happened. That's what I'd like to see.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, let me just check something real quick here. Eryj, I see your phone is still on. Are you still there? She must have went ahead and dropped off and just didn't end the call with us. But well, I'm gonna have to get her back on here and talk about Mulek. That's super fascinating.
Yes, I still here.
You're still here?
Yes, Dave. I'm
Awesome.
still here. I still hear the conversation, the interview back. I'm in a very noisy place, and this is why I could not interact with you.
No, that's okay. Do you think that you could tell us a little bit about your knowledge of Mulek? It sounds like that's a name over there in Tunisia. Is that correct?
So for me, the first time I knew about Mulek is when I went to America and when I met all the guys. And when they told me the story of Mulek, well, it sounds like familiar with me, because in Tunisia we have a lot of guys whose name is Malek. Malek and Mulek have the same racine. So as I knew a little bit more about the story of Mulek, I say to all of the group that Mulek cannot reach America without passing by Tunisia, by Carthage, by Jerba, because at that time, at 600 BC, a lot of Hebrew people fled also Jerusalem and established in Jerba. And we still have a big community, a very important community, Jewish community in Jerba, who came from Jerusalem from that time, and they still live until now. So for me, Mulek cannot go from Jerusalem directly to America without making some stops. And the first stop who can make is for sure Carthage and Jerba, because maybe as I think that the Jewish community who was there at that moment, for sure they will protect Mulek. And he could not also reach America without a specialist navigator from Carthage, because at that time, only the Phoenician Carthaginian was able to travel crossing the Atlantic. This is my point of view about the story of Mulek. And yesterday I was with a friend of mine who is Jewish from Tunis, and his mother from the south of Tunisia, between Jerba and another place. And he said to me that last year a group of Mormons came to ask him of a database. They wanted to buy a database of the Jewish and the oldest Jewish of Tunisia, and he never understood why. And I told him about this story, and he was very he was like fascinated. And I didn't know about Mormons coming to Tunisia to look after the Jewish people of Tunisia. So for me, it makes sense. So this story, and as you know, the religion and history, they go together. So when you understand the history, you can understand a little bit the religion, and the religion also based on history things, stories. So it makes it. It's like it's a couple. I think it's like a couple.
Absolutely. So, and Eryj, what do you hope? And thank you for sharing that. That's fascinating stuff. Real quick, Eryj, what's your hope in doing all this work? When, years from now, when you look back on this period of working, what do you hope to look back on and see? What do you hope this work accomplishes?
Yes, what I hope is to interest more and more people, and especially also young people, because actually young people are not there's not a lot of people who are interested in history and culture, and for future generation is very important for us as North African and for American. It's very important to say that the human race is mixed and connected, and this is very important because it's highlight the love, the connection, it's the peace. It's against war, against hatred. So this is very important for us. The museum is very important for us. The story of Phoenicia ship is a proof of a good part of a human being from more than 2,000 years, you know. So this, I think this is very important, and I hope to see the Phoenicia Ship Museum as a big museum who receive a lot of people who want to know more about the history of Americans, and for sure the history of the old world for North America and for the south shore of the Mediterranean.
Absolutely. Eryj, that was beautifully said. As I look at all this, there's a couple of things, and I think what Eryj has said and what John has said is true, right? Sometimes we focus way too much on our differences between one society to another, one person to another. And the truth is I think we're all way more closely connected than any of us really know. And as Eryj said, understanding that, you know, we are way more closely to, you know, related, that we do have common threads that connect us. That's huge, because all of a sudden you've established a type of kinship, and that can go a long ways in understanding one another and learning from one another. The other thing, from just a purely um scientific point of view or historical point of view, there are times, as I've traveled around the country, and I've been to a lot of different states, not quite all of them, but I'm getting close, and spent time in each of them. In my career as a land surveyor, um, I got to explore a lot of different areas and saw some things that, quite frankly, just didn't fit established narratives. And when these things begin to come to light, it's super important that they get pushed forward so that we can have a correct understanding of who we are, a correct understanding of who the indigenous peoples were here in America, and just continue to foster that. Eryj, gentlemen, is there anything else that we didn't cover that you guys want to add in before we wrap up here?
Dave, we appreciate what you're doing. This is a big and very complex story, and it needs people out there telling it in different ways. Your job now is to put together something a week from now so that maybe as many as 10,000 or more will take notice. What do you think? Can you do it?
I have no doubt that people will look at this, John. That's not an issue.
We give it freely because, you know, this is what's remarkable here is the amount of effort and money that has been put on the altar. It's really amazing that we have been able to do what we've done with so few dollars, but we have the talent. We have the talent, and we have a goal. We invite everyone of goodwill to come and join us. Anyone who has been working with us for 2 years is not has not been disappointed. Mike, are you ready to take anybody at the gift shop or at the museum?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're ready. We're ready for anything. We're handling as many as 1,000 people a month. So we got a Lebanese tour youth group and a American school kids.
They're coming on June 8th.
Yeah, so that's gonna be pretty cool, because that's gonna be a cultural exchange between the two
For 3 or 4 days.
Have firesides on the Mississippi River where we'll get together and share cultural experiences. We're gonna have a dance with the local community where they'll share their way to dance, and of course, American way of dance. I don't know how that's going to go, but I guess we can show them some square dance or something like that. But that's going to be very interesting. So we're prepared to handle whoever comes, and we can modify or edit.
How about Native Americans?
Well, we got 2 Native Americans running the place, and of course we invite we invite others to come. We have contacts with some that we're going to hope they're going to come by this summer and meet with us and join us in this big adventure.
Fantastic. All right. Eryj, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you a lot for inviting me and for your interest to our project together. So I hope that your audience will enjoy our interview. I want also to thank John, Mike LaFontaine, Betty,
Eryj,
and Blaise, and Georgia.
can Americans
Yes.
come to Tunisia? Can we come to Tunisia to discover for ourselves?
They are more than welcome.
Yeah, we will enlarge upon this. We appreciate Eryj and what she has done. She has really given so much energy, and without her, the whole flavor would be kind of bland.
Absolutely.
We appreciate what you represent.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
one
John.
last
Thank you,
word here.
Dave.
Thank you.
Yes.
Georgia, you've been watching this. Give us your last word here.
She looks angelic. Turn on your mic.
I know.
There you go.
I said you guys have done a great job of covering everything. It's just been fun being involved in it, and that's it. So
thank you
that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. All right. John, one last time, where can people go to donate?
The best place to go is online, Phoenicia.rocks. There's a donate button. Hit that button and just open up your credit card.
Perfect. I'll in this episode's show notes, I'll include a link to that.
$10 a month on a reoccurring basis is wonderful.
Perfect.
We've had about 3,700 small donors and about 24 large donors. We've gone through a lot of money, and we are looking for more.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And if someone wants to volunteer, is that the same place?
They can go there for sure. Mike LaFontaine and his wife Nancy are managing that, starting up in about a month. We'll be going full time.
Betty is the name.
I'm sorry. Mike and Betty LaFontaine are managing that.
Fantastic.
The reoccurring donations is what keeps the shop going. You know, if you could do a $10 a month reoccurring donation, that skip a Big Mac once a day. Well, actually, it's a half a Big Mac with the inflation now, but that keeps the shop going, keeps the wheels greased, and that reoccurring donation is a big thing for us. So we appreciate that.
Fantastic. All right, gentlemen. Eryj, thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
For being here. This has been an absolute blast, and I mean what I say. Once you've been on once, you got a standing invitation to come back on anytime you'd like. As you guys continue to move forward with things, don't hesitate to reach out. Let me know, hey, there's some stuff that we've discovered that we'd like to, get out in front.
Dave, it's real simple. We want you in Montrose sometime this summer.
I will be there. We will. I will come down there. Maybe we'll do a live event.
That'd be great.
And we can do that. So look. I just moved to Missouri. I got time to go explore and everything else. And you guys aren't that far from us. So we've already been to Nauvoo a couple of times. So we'll just do the extra couple miles and head to Montrose, and we'll do something there for sure. So
yeah. Well, don't be surprised if Betty and I give you a call one day live from Phoenicia and give you a virtual tour of around the ship and around the gift shop.
Absolutely. We love that. So, all right.
Well, thank you for your time.
Eryj, thank you so much for coming on. And keep us abreast about what happens. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Sounds good. See you, Blaise. See you, John. Good to see you,
Bye-bye.
Eryj.
Thanks for your time.
All right.
Bye, everybody. Have a great Sabbath.